Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today it is currently Wednesday, June 26th at 11:54 p.m. It is 6 minutes before the debate day, June 27th. Today we're going to be talking about some recent polls that have just come out, just been released within the last few hours from Quinnipiac in New York, in the New York Times, and doing a short discussion on how post Donald Trump's conviction, not much has changed, and actually Donald Trump has actually surged in a little bit of the polls and a little bit of those national polls that we are seeing coming out of these two pollsters. So if you can see my screen, I'm going to click on the New York Times Siena poll. Basically, this is on Real Clear Politics, one of the pollers that tracks polling throughout presidential election cycles. What you see here is the map, and this is basically over the last year who's led in the polls. Donald Trump's conviction, when he was found guilty, I believe, was on May 31st. So around a month ago at this point. So it's been some time for the American people to take that in and kind of adjust to the conviction and then make a decision based off of that. But what we've seen, and previously in polls, we've seen that, if Donald Trump is convicted of a crime, will you support him in the election? And it showed that Biden actually gained in those polls. But what we're seeing now is it really hasn't had much of an effect if you base it off of the polls. Previous polls said that it would. Now the polls are showing that Trump is kind of expanding on his lead. So you start off, and it was pretty competitive back about a year ago. This is essentially all a year ago. Biden was leading in the polls last summer pretty consistently. Then Trump took a little bit of a lead. This was around Donald Trump finally took the polling lead on after October 18th. There was a tie. And then since then, Trump has been in the lead in the polls. He's had some very wide gaps. His biggest one, obviously, late January, he led by 4.3% in the polls against Joe Biden on the national level. That obviously did not remain the same as time went on. Things changed. However, he has maintained a lead over Biden. There have been some very close times, but he's maintained a lead regardless. So we head over to May 31st when the conviction happened. Trump was leading Biden by 0.8%. Right after, you see, polling remains kind of consistent. Then it narrows up in June. Trump only leads by 0.33%. And here we are. We have now June 26th, about a month after the conviction. Trump leads by a greater margin than the conviction. It shows that it just didn't have an effect on the election. It had no effect on people's opinions of Donald Trump. And I know I made a video similar, I guess, to this one, but this one's obviously showing polls that, people have made up their minds on Donald Trump 10 years ago when he announced his run for president. I guess 9 years ago in 2015. People decided whether or not they thought that he was a good person or not, whether or not they liked him or not, or whether or not they would vote for him. They know who he is. He's been in the public square long enough that a conviction of a felony, when you look at the crime, and it doesn't even really matter in my opinion, isn't going to have any effect on the race. And now we see that. Donald Trump up 4 points in the Quinnipiac poll. When you go back and when you look at the previous Quinnipiac poll, if I can find it, it had Joe Biden up 1 point. Right here. Joe Biden led by 1 point. It was done about a month ago. I believe this is the most recent one. So it's a 5-point swing. This was before the conviction. Now this is after the conviction. 5-point swing in Quinnipiac, which is one of the more pro-Democrat pollsters. New York Times and Siena. Also, another swing with regard to the post-conviction results. When we look at the previous New York Times poll, let's do this real quick. What does this say? NY Times. Sorry. Here we go. We're finding the poll. April 11th, Trump up 1. Now he leads by 4 points in their most recent poll. It shows he's expanded his lead. The debate is tomorrow. I don't know who's going to win the debate. Frankly, I don't think it matters who wins the debate. I think that this election, whether it's held today, whether it's held November 5th, barring anything crazy happening over the next few months, and very likely crazy things could happen, but will pretty much show the exact same result. People have seen both of these presidencies in action, and I don't really think we're going to see any drastic changes with regard to the state of the economy, with regard to immigration policy, with regard to foreign policy that occur over the next 3 months. Now that we could, but I'm not expecting that to happen at this point in time. if I had to make a prediction, these polls will remain relatively consistent throughout the rest of the election cycle. You may see a bump post the Democrat convention in August or post the Republican convention in July, possibly post the September 27th debate. A slight, very slight, less than 1% in the poll change, in my opinion. But this is pretty much what it's going to be. People either don't like Trump or they like Trump. If this is what it's going to, if the election's about Trump, people either like Biden or they don't like Biden. It's simply what it is. And I just wanted to make this video to highlight the fact that conviction, no conviction, indictment, no indictment, an allegation or no allegation or anything that's thrown at Donald Trump is likely to have zero to little effect on the results of the election. That's really all I have for you today, just a quick analysis of the most recent national polls. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel.